All right, welcome, Feisties. I feel like every week we have to play, like, who is here this week? So, Katie Zafaris is here with me. I'm Kelly O'Mara. Joanne is in Nice. And this week we have Non Stanford joining us. Welcome, Non, from Australia.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Really excited to be here. So, yeah, sorry to keep you all up so late.
I know, time zones was not our friend trying to figure this out, I feel like.
I said
No,
she's the only one I'll stay up past 9 for.
Probably the worst one to organise, isn't it? That is definitely the downside of being in Australia. Nobody is on our time zone.
That's true.
But
that is true.
the positive is that you're always ahead of the game.
That's it. Always one step ahead.
All right, so I said we were going to start by talking about like triathlon news, what's going on in the world, and I said I was going to ask you, what do you think has been like the most exciting race so far this year, most exciting thing to watch, spectate, and you've had a whole like 3 minutes to think about it. So,
do you know what? I think for me, it is the World Championships mixed team relay in Hamburg earlier this year. Slightly biased in that I was there working with Australian Triathlon, and if you didn't know, they won. But the whole backstory is really cool. You know, they've really struggled as a nation the last 7 or 8 years with a mixed team relay. They had a great build up to the Tokyo Olympics, and then obviously, as everyone knows, Tokyo was delayed, and they had a bit of a disaster in Tokyo. I think they were pretty much lapped as Alex and Vince were sprinting for the finish. You saw the Australian athlete heading out onto the run. So from being 2017 world champions to pretty much being lapped out in Tokyo, and Paris was a similar story, bit of a disaster for them. So it was like an absolute comeback story. And whether you're involved with the team or not, I think it was a really cool thing to see. And the race itself was really exciting. Australia sort of yo-yoed in and out of contention the whole race. And I mean, they've got an absolute weapon on that last leg. You do not want Matt Hauser getting off the bike with you in that last leg. You know, he's probably going to be one of the quickest in the sport right now, over 2K, 1600 meters. So yeah, they've always got that in their back pocket. So if the other athletes can deliver Matt in contention, then the rest of the world is probably watching their backs a little bit. So yeah, it was a super exciting race. And like I say, maybe a bit biased because I got to be on the side of the winning team. But yeah, if you know the backstory and you're a fan of the sport, it was a true underdog story.
I was going to say, yeah, how much does the makeup change, like, as you're there? Like, how much do you...
As in, like, who was in the team? How did that change? Or we actually sort of tentatively pre-selected the team before the individual race. So we sat down as a team of coaches and the performance director, and sort of chose the team ahead of time, just so that everybody could mentally prepare themselves for the fact that they were maybe racing twice. But always, you tell every athlete on the team to prepare as if they're racing. You just never know what's going to happen. You never know if somebody's going to crash, come up sore, have a problem, get sick overnight between the two races. So. But the team that we pre-selected was the team that actually went on to race. Big decision on which order we put the girls in. A lot of people wanted Emma Jeffcoat to go first because she's pretty much a guaranteed front pack swimmer, and put Sophie Lynn on second. But it was just felt that Emma had that stronger bike leg if she was needing to time trial on her own. So took a bit of a risk, I guess, and put Sophie first and Emma on the third leg. But yeah, it all worked out. And like I said, they all just kept Matt in contention, got themselves back into the race if they'd fallen out of it. And yeah, it turned out good on the day. I mean, it's going to be a long road to LA, and I'm sure lots of ups and downs along the way to get there. But fingers crossed, this is going to be a successful relay campaign for Australia this time around.
Interesting. It's funny. I feel like everyone always talks about Hamburg, but this is the first time someone's talked about the mixed relay. Yeah.
Throwing something else out there.
Wow.
Short course is exciting. I will sit down and watch Nice all afternoon on Sunday, but it's a different kind of excitement, isn't it? You know, it's.
Will you really watch all of it, or will you like fall asleep in the middle? Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the mixing relay is an hour and a half of like non-stop change, non-stop action, and for me, that is what's exciting about our sport.
Well, and even more so than like, the sprint and Olympic distance, because mixed team relay just it just, like Non saying, it just keeps changing throughout, and you just don't know how it's going to play out until they cross the finish line. Like you could have said, like Australia was like, oh, they're done, and then you're like, oh, no, they're not. Like,
Did you
yeah.
guys like the mixed team relay as athletes, or is it
Oh my
stressful?
gosh, well, both,
Well, both.
equal parts, both. But I love the mixed relay.
Yeah, everyone loves having that opportunity because we don't get to race as a team. It's an individual sport. So
Right.
when you do get that opportunity, it's really cool. And yeah, it is high pressure. I really messed up in 2013. We were off the front and I was looking for Annie Haug because I knew she was coming for the German team. And I turned around to check where she was and just rode smack into a giant cone. And yeah, we didn't finish. So it is high pressure. And the last thing my coach said to me before I went out was, don't F this up. And I did.
That's probably stuck in your head. Yeah.
That's how I felt like with Tokyo. Until Tokyo, I'd only ever been in the third position, and I was so confident in the third position. But then we were having our race team meeting, and Nib had done like very few mixed relays at that point. So I just said, which place do you feel most confident? And she said third, and I was like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna do first. And it was the first time I ever did it, and I was so nervous. I was so happy when I was done, and like everyone was set up in a good way, and I was like, whew, okay.
Yeah.
It worked out all right on the day.
It worked out great, but man, I was like, oh my God. Because like third position, you're like not with anybody. You're like you might be with people, but
Sure.
it's often like broken up by then. And so you don't have to swim in a pack, bike in a pack. And like, that was a stress reliever for me. But yeah, that's all right. I rode with, was it with Jess? I think it was with Jess and Tokyo.
Jess went first. Yeah.
Oh man. Now it's like now I'm feeling like all anxiety for all the people involved in the mixed relay for like the next 3 years before LA. I'm like, oh my God.
Now you're gonna be invested though. You're gonna be really invested in the progress of everybody, and it's gonna be a favorite race in LA.
You mentioned Nice in there, so I do want to like talk about the other like things happening in Tri. We did a big preview of Nice last week with Joanne before she headed out there, and Fenella and Hannah. Do we have anything to add? It is happening. I feel like that's what we've got to add, right?
The race is on.
The race is on.
Maybe it is. It's going to be exciting in its own way, different to the mixed team relay. But I think it's really hard to call the winner.
Yeah.
Oh well, that is a good. Who will you pick?
Oh yeah, we made everybody.
And your allegiance is kind of split between short course and long course athletes. I feel like, whereas mine is like pretty like short course centric still. So
I'd say I'm still very much in the short course world, with dipping my toe in the the long course ocean. But I was gonna say Christian Blumenfeld because I thought he looked like he was in amazing shape. But apparently he failed one of his like key sessions at the weekend.
Oh my God. Oh, wow. It's over.
Was he being smart or has he overcooked it? We don't know.
I don't know. Bryn lost her first race and then she won gold in Rio.
Yeah. True. You can never know, do you? And I feel like Christian's pretty calculated in terms of he knows what he's doing, and he probably pulled back because he knew he wasn't quite right. So for me, it's either Christian or Laidlow, but my heart would pick Martin.
That's what Katie said. Yeah.
I did say Martin. And maybe he just has less stress with the race because of his ankle injury. He's going to come in with just a little bit of lightness.
Yeah. Apparently he did his whole own like podcast show preview. Yeah.
Oh,
he did it well. He did it with the All In Triathlon podcast.
Right, he did it with All In. Yes.
My husband's podcast. So.
Yes. I was going to say, I haven't listened to it yet, but I was like curious how much he disclosed like all of his strategy before the race. So
I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah.
Don't tell my husband that.
I just saw it. Yeah. So anyway, that is entertaining to me because you don't usually see like people actually, you know, in the hunt come out and be like, well, here's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
So
he's a pretty open book, Martin, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's happening this weekend. But I wanted you guys to also talk to me about the other big race this weekend. I feel like it's too many now. We had like no races for months, and now it's like every weekend, too much. WTCS Karlovy Vary. Am I saying that right? Have I finally got Karlovy Vary?
Karlovy Vary.
Okay.
That's how
Neither of us are Czech, so
yeah.
we're probably butchering
We're
it.
all wrong. We're all
Okay,
wrong, but
good.
closer.
Yeah.
But that's also happening this weekend, right? So we're at our next WTCS, and it's a very popular World Cup in previous years, and they finally have made it a WTCS. And I feel like everyone has been telling me this is very exciting, that we're all very excited that it's a WTCS. Tell me why we're very excited.
Because there is actually a hill in the course. I think it's like a tough course, and it's also split transitions, which really isn't like any athlete's favorite, I'm pretty sure. But like having that like commute into the little town center, and then it's technical, it's hilly. It's just a very honest course that you can't just like be along for the ride for. My legs have been demolished on it. It's also like side note, it's a super cool town where like people come for this like water like springs that are supposed to be like youth enhancing springs or things. So it's just a neat place.
Did you go to the springs?
I should have. Now I really feel like I should have, now that we have 2 children. But I feel like a lot of World Cups, they're always in like really cool places. And so I'm excited for there to be a World Triathlon Championship Series race there. But yeah.
Do you know what I'm most excited to see is normally at the World Cups, if you're on the podium, you win a giant slab of chocolate. Oh. I really hope that is something that continues for the World Series race, because that's pretty cool. That's probably the best prize in triathlon, really.
I wonder if it'll be Vendela's. Our Czech teammate Vendela Frantova opened a chocolate shop.
Oh, did she really? Huh.
Yeah.
This is really like all the athletes always rave about this race, and this is really why. It's really the chocolate. Like they're all like, "Oh yeah, it's the course," but it's actually just
the chocolate.
Whatever you get on as your treat on the podium.
Yeah. Athletes love to treat themselves with good food post race. I always used to want a burger and chips, but I would also take a giant slab of chocolate. So
yes.
And I was looking at the start list. It looks like we have Emma Lombardi, Leonie Perriault, Beth Potter, Lisa Tersch, who else? Taylor Spivey, Emma Jeffcoat. For Australia, it's Sophie Lynn and Emma Jeffcoat racing, right?
And Yolene, I'm excited for her to race again.
Yolene's
She's
racing.
been doing very good.
Yeah, I think from a British point of view as well, it'd be really interesting. Always Beth. I think Beth will always be up there, but we've got Jess Fulligar, who's superpower on the bike. So it'd be really interesting to see if she can use that to drive a split. Liv Mathias as well, super strong on the bike, and they don't always get to show that.
Maya
so
Kingma too.
Maybe on this kind of course, we'll see that break going. Cass isn't there, so but other than that, I think everybody's there. So it'll be really, really interesting.
Yeah, do you think the bike course being, whatever you said, Katie, like a real bike course, is going to change the dynamics we've seen so far this year?
I think so, because people are going to hit it hard. And it's not a hill that you just like, it's not a short hill that you can just kind of fake it. This is like a long hill, then with a like technical descent. And the hill is like quite steep too. So, and then it's going to be interesting because even if people can stay on the bike, it's like, well, how do you run off that hard of a
right. See, that's what I was wondering. Yeah. So I feel like most races so far this year have been heavy runner races. Like we've just seen very fast runs. Yeah.
It's really interesting because I feel like that's how the women have been, and the men are still running really fast, but they're having more breakaways than they've had in the past. So it's kind of swapped a little bit.
I find that though, every Olympic cycle, the race dynamics often shift. So between Rio and Tokyo is very much breakaway heavy. So you, Flora, Georgia, Jess really driving that breakaway, and us mid-packers were chasing all the time. But before that, it was very much a run race. So in the build up to Rio. So I feel like it swaps all the time.
Do you think it swaps because people see, like, I think like after Rio, I think people were like, well, if I want to change this, right? If I want to beat Gwen, I need to change these dynamics. And then you start seeing like an opposite style, you know what I mean? Because they're like, and then people are like, well, if I want to win this, I have to change it back, you know, like basically it's a reaction.
Yeah, a bit. And I also think it just depends if the key players are still going. So short courses lost Katie, they've lost Jess, they've lost Flora. So you're not seeing that really strong swim bike at the front. And the effect that Jess Learmonth has on the swim is massive
Hmm.
because you can be a lead out swimmer, but Jess was just that one that was driving it that much quicker. So the group was, so now often the girls that are leading out are just creating a long line.
Huh.
Whereas when Jess was there, she was creating a definitive break. You know, she was just that much better to drive the front of the race. And I think that's what the difference is.
Oh, okay. You did mention Maya King was also on the WTCS start list, and obviously, yeah, she's a strong biker because this is her first WTCS this year because she's been doing a lot of world tour racing. She's been doing like more cycling racing this year.
She did Frejus, I think.
Yeah.
I was
last
gonna say
weekend.
that might have been her
Frejus.
first one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't think I don't remember how she did. I don't think she did anything sort of stand out.
But she did Tour de France Femmes. She did one of the other ones, like what that I can never remember the names of, but like a bunch of cycling racing this year.
Yeah, so it could be interesting to see, her on this course, definitely.
Wait, was she fourth in Algero?
Maybe because they had the breakaway, didn't they?
Yeah, so yeah, she did. I'm
we
like
go.
looking at
Off the results, and you're like, wait a second. Okay, so she's actually just had a very busy year, is what we've established.
Yeah.
so
she
she had a
did
very
great,
good result.
Yes.
And I think we could see the same here, a breakaway where you see the likes of Kingma, Fulligar, Matthias, maybe Bianca Seregni again because she's always at the front in the swim, and I think she'll ride well on that course. So I think we could see a bit of a bike break with the likes of those athletes in the mix at the front.
Will you guys watch that, or will you watch Nice, or will you go back and forth between the two?
Prioritize Karlovy Vary, absolutely.
Follow the tracker for Nice is how I'll follow that.
I have an age group athlete racing Nice, so I'll definitely be following the tracker on that one. But yeah, we'll probably have Karlovy Vary on the big screen and Nice on the iPad until Karlovy Vary's over, and we'll switch.
Okay,
it's true.
Good.
It's like
Good.
the lead-in. It's like the appetizer.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not the appetizer. First meal, second meal.
Sure. Do you guys ever like being I mean, we're gonna talk a whole bunch more about short, but being like so heavy in short course, do you ever get frustrated that like so much of the triathlon attention is on long course? Like, I mean, maybe it's not as much in Europe, but in the US, it's like very heavy on long course, right? And I feel like Katie's like, no.
Well, it's only because it's not that I want to take away from long course. It's just I want short course to, especially in the US, to reach the height that it does in like non-experiences in UK. Like there's such a big hype for draft legal triathlon. So I want that in the US because it's just like it is so engaging. And in my head, I'm like, if people love long course so much, like short course is far more like and a shorter commitment.
I can't get my head around it. I think it's crazy when you go to the States. Like we went to Super Tri Boston.
Yeah.
And it was dead.
Yes.
Like the age group finish line was about 100 meters away from where Super Tri was happening. Literally Olympic champions, world champions, best short course athletes in the world. And nobody came to watch. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is going on? But then you go to London and Toulouse. And
Jersey. You go to Jersey. The most random, like, not random, but like a very small island. And they have
it's like 3 or 4
fans.
deep. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and it is a huge shame. I think the short course federations are breathing a sigh of relief at the minute because as soon as America work it out and it becomes a bit more mainstream, like you're probably going to dominate like you dominate every other sport. So it is a shame because it is such an exciting format. And it's interesting that obviously in general, the US are more excited by sort of that extreme endurance kind of event.
Yes. If we promised crashes in short course, people would probably watch more. Like
well,
whenever
they
you
should
tell
watch.
them,
I've crashed a lot.
But whenever you tell them like, oh, it's like the NASCAR triathlon, like for Super Tri, then literally they go, oh. So maybe that's just we need to play that up. Yeah.
I always also find it interesting because we've actually done very well. It's not like the Americans short course athletes have been rubbish and not like worth paying attention to. Like we've pretty much medaled at every Olympics. So
Yeah.
Well, we pay attention to the Olympics, Katie, in all fairness. The US gets very into Olympics.
True.
We just don't pay
true.
attention the other 4 years.
Right.
So,
Those aren't important.
no.
Yeah. No, it is impressive that considering it's not like a focus sport for you guys, that you do so well. But obviously, given the size of your population, I feel like there's probably a lot of untapped potential floating around the States right now.
Probably.
Tommy's working on finding it. That's his job for all listening.
Yeah. Any other results this past weekend that we want to call out? There were a bunch of 70.3s, speaking of long course. There was like 8 70.3s. And I do want to give a shout out to Rebecca Anderbury. If Joanne was here, she would say she won her first pro race, which is always exciting when somebody wins their first pro race, right? That's like a very big deal. And then the Santa Cruz 70.3, which a lot of people in the US use as a tune-up, because then you can go from there like to Hawaii. Tamara Jewett won and Jackie Herring was second, and they both looked very strong and like ready for Kona. So
how long until Kona? Sorry, you're probably going to be
4
very
weeks.
angry people here.
Well, it's like 5 weeks. I like looked at my calendar and I said, I was like, it's 3.5 weeks away, but that's just when I fly. I think a lot of pros are doing like training camps now. Like they're either coming here and then going to Kona, or if they're coming from Europe, they're coming to the US and doing a training camp and then going out to, you know what I mean? Like, because then you can do a big block and be closer to the island. Or you. So
Kona's like mid-October?
Yeah, it's October 11th. Yeah.
Okay. The weekend before
same.
the real world champs.
I know. I asked, whatever. Somebody asked if I was going to Wollongong, and I was like trying to figure out if I could fly from
I didn't
Hawaii
respond to you. Sorry.
to Wollongong. Yeah, I asked if Katie was going, and she said that Tommy was going for their household. So.
Well, we should bring in Non as our. Well, I guess she'll probably be busy.
He'll probably be busy.
The Wollongong schedule is insane.
Is it?
Because it's obviously all the age group races. You've got junior, under 23, elite, para relay, junior relay, and the T100 now. So as a member of staff, I'm like, try to get all my ducks in a row before we go, because it's going to be manic.
Yeah, that does sound like a lot, actually. Okay. All right. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we are going to talk about Non's new role with Tri Australia, or Australia Tri. Which way do they say it?
Tri Australia?
Tri Australia, okay. Her new role and coaching and what life's like after pro triathlon. Feisties, we're excited to be testing out the Wahoo Kicker Run, the new treadmill from Wahoo that is going to change the way you think about treadmills, the same way Wahoo changed smart trainers for cycling. Now, as somebody who actually personally does not love running on treadmills, I do like what they're doing with the Kicker Run to make it more than just another treadmill. For example, the dynamic pacing means it literally matches your speed. So you don't need to press a button, the treadmill simply adjusts to you. That makes it more like how you would run outside, so you don't need to hit buttons or slow down or grab onto the front in order to change speeds. The other thing that makes this treadmill more like running outside is the terrain simulation. That means that the deck you're running on is designed to feel like a hard-packed trail or a running track, and it can vary the side angle side to side to mimic outdoor routes and build your stabilizing muscles so that you have that muscle memory when it comes time to race. That's why you've probably seen the Wahoo Kicker Run used by Lucy Charles Barkley and Chelsea Sodaro. It also doesn't just connect to the Wahoo ecosystem. You can run routes from Strava or Zwift. It's a treadmill that lets you run your run, as their motto says, and getting consistent training at your convenience and your speed all year round. They also come and set it up for you, which, again, if you're like me, is a game changer. Click the link in the show notes and use the code FEISTY to get a free Headwind Smart Fan with your purchase of a Wahoo Kicker Run. That's an extra $300 value. That's the code FEISTY with the link in the show notes to get a free Headwind Smart Fan with your treadmill. Now, don't wait until the weather turns. Treadmill running doesn't have to be just for winter anymore. You can revolutionize your treadmill game today. Here at Feisty, we're excited to be teaming up with Xterra to help get more women onto the trails and into off-road triathlon. Xterra offers a full schedule of off-road triathlons all around the world, from super sprint to Olympic distance, youth races. Their events feature open water swimming, mountain biking, trail running, with a focus on the welcoming community and beautiful destinations. And I want to be clear, anyone can do an Xterra. You can do an Xterra. Even if you've never mountain biked before, other athletes are ready to get you to that finish line and are even known to offer a helping hand during races. In fact, we'll be doing a series of feisty podcasts and videos with some tips and ways to get started. Stay tuned. You'll also recognize some of the most iconic names in triathlon who got their start in Xterra. Flora Duffy, Mel McQuaid, Leslie Patterson. And next year, the World Championship race will return to the US with a new home in New Mexico. And most importantly, Xterra offers equal prize money, recognition, and spots to that World Championship. So if you're looking for a new adventure, hit the dirt and find a race to try at xterraplanet.com. That's XTERRA planet.com. All right, Non moved to Australia, which apparently happened in May and not all of us realized. Tell us about the move to Australia, and you took a new role with Try Oz. We haven't decided yet which way they say it. During our break, we tried to decide.
I think.
Oz Try.
Yeah, so in May, we packed up our lives and took a very big leap from one side of the world to the other. My husband is Australian, so that was a large part of the decision to move. I think he was a bit fed up of the British weather. So when this opportunity came, I got offered a job over here in Australia. Katie was actually at my house when we were going through this whole deliberation of whether I should take the job or not.
Okay.
And it wasn't an easy decision. Moving to the other side of the world is a big move. It's a long way. And also, I've spent my whole triathlon career with British Triathlon. So to move to a different federation and work for a different federation was pretty scary, but it was also a great opportunity. I went from being the assistant coach at the Leeds Triathlon Centre, one of the British Triathlon high performance centres, to now heading up the performance centre here on the Gold Coast. So it's been a big sort of step up. I've got more responsibility. My co-coach is starting next week, Daniel Unger, former world champion in the short course as well. He's coming over from Germany. So a really exciting opportunity to collaborate with someone from another really successful federation as well. And I think when it came down to it, it was just an opportunity that we couldn't really turn down. And I mean, the weather here is obviously a pro. So I can't complain about that. Although all swimming is outdoors, which is great when it's sunny. But it rains here. It does rain here. And when it rains really, really heavy. So I've been like in full waterproofs,
right,
under an umbrella, getting absolutely drenched. So like trench foot because my shoes are so wet.
We have that here too. All our pools are outdoors and we get massive rain. So, and the swim coaches are in like full fisherman boots, and it's a whole thing.
Well, that was one of the first things I messaged Joel, like our coach, or when Non and I were both coached by Joel Filliol. And like after taking the coaching job, I was like, I never, like when we were miserable, I always knew it was miserable, but I didn't realize how miserable it was as a coach, like standing on the side in miserable weather, because then you're not even doing it. Like, right. I mean, he's coaching, but like, you're
not moving too much.
You're just standing there in whatever the elements are.
Yeah.
One of the I appreciate you.
One of the swim squad coaches. So where we train, they've obviously got swim squads, not triathlon squads as well. And the swim squad coach came up to me and was like, "Coaches aren't allowed umbrellas." I thought, I don't care. I am standing under my umbrella.
You're like,
I do not need to be
now.
I was like, you can judge me. You can call me not a real coach, but I am staying under my umbrella.
And you guys are setting up, you said, a training center in Brisbane, or south of Brisbane, ahead of 2032, 2036. I'm like losing my years now. I'm like, how far away are we? Yeah, 2032 Brisbane, right?
Yeah, so that's the idea. Brisbane, Australia, hosting the games in 2032, and as the host nation, Australia want to go there and put their best foot forward, and have their best games to date. That's the objective and that's the plan, and so that's the reason behind creating this new performance centre, to identify and bring in the talent that can potentially be delivering us medals in 2032. So yeah, it's a big job, it's a big task. I guess 7 years to hit your KPIs in many ways. It's quite a long process, but no, it's a challenge that I'm looking forward to. And my personal objective is, when I move on from this centre, whenever that is, that it's something that is sustainable, that it's a programme that outlives me and all the current athletes that are in it, and it creates something that Oz Tri can keep going on into the future, because they don't have a long-standing performance centre in Australia at the minute. And I think that's a huge reason behind the success of British Triathlon. They've had multiple consistent centres that have spanned many years, 20 years. And it's just that consistency that allows, and stability that allows them to keep producing athletes. So yeah, if we can do something along the lines, or get something along those lines going, then that would sort of be, in my eyes, job done.
Does it take, okay, timeline wise, like, does it take 7 years to like what is the time frame on being a medalist in the Olympics? Does that make sense? Like, if somebody's winning right now, is that too that's too, like, they're not gonna like be an Olympic in 7 years? And then if you have to find somebody right now, is 7 years enough to like get them? You see what I'm saying? Like, I've talked to Tommy about this too, Katie, because I'm like curious about how long it takes to like find people and then make them Olympic medalists.
I feel like there's so many different pathways.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, if you medaled in Paris and then you also medal in Brisbane, then you would be the first to do that. I don't think anybody's medaled across 3 games. I could be wrong. I mean, Alistair was the first to win 2 consecutive games. Mm-hmm. Spirig medaled in London and Rio, but she didn't medal in Tokyo. So I think it would be unprecedented to medal, but that is not to say you can't do it. I'm sure, well, not that Matty medaled in Paris, but I'd like to think he's going to want to have a good shot at Brisbane being a home games for him. But yeah, I think if you started identifying talent that's probably either talent transfer, so they're already doing really well at swimming, or over here surf lifesaving, or running, and you're bringing them in now, or your junior athletes that are junior and 23 athletes that are performing well now, then I think 7 years is plenty of time. I think I won world champs within 5 years of starting triathlon. So yeah. And Kate, you were probably quite similar.
Yeah, won world champs in 7 years, but medaled after that.
Yeah.
9 years, I think.
All right, because Katie, you're like also working in development right now, right?
8 years.
Looking at the future, the youth. How does it like compare? How do the different like systems compare?
Well,
the U.S. does it way differently, right?
The U.S. I think has gotten lucky so far in some ways. Yes. I wouldn't say our pipeline is so robust. We don't have like so much depth. Like when you look at leads in Germany and France, those are like the consistent things you see, is that they just have not just a couple people doing well, but like it runs deep, and not just in like the World Triathlon Championship Series, but World Cups. Like they're at all the levels. And that is why I was there for Non's big decision making, which wasn't planned for the decision making aspect of it. But I was there because I was checking out leads, because when I look at like programs that I really respect, it's like Leeds and France and well, the UK in general, but Leeds specifically, because they've just had so many good athletes come out of there, and especially on the women's side. And so yeah, that was like a huge reason. And that's kind of like what coming back, like what OXO, I mean, it's kind of the team I'm coaching now is called OXO Collective, and we started out being like more centered on like women, but after visiting Leeds, I was like, I feel like we might be a little too specialized. And something that Leeds does is they have all the different stages. And I don't know, like, since now you're in Australia, do you take, I mean, you have the opportunity now to like use everything that you've experienced yourself and kind of seen with GB, like how much are you innovating? Or because I know that for myself as on the coaching side, it's like that challenge of like, I know this works, but also I don't want to always just do the safe thing that's always worked.
Yeah. So I guess coming in, I had 4 weeks here before I had to go back to Europe to do the Europe tour with the team. So I had to pretty quickly set up a schedule and a routine that would keep going while I was away for 6 weeks. So I pretty much did what I knew, and sort of set the week very similar to what we've done with Joel and what goes on at the Leeds Triathlon Centre. Like you say, we know it works. And I had a really short time frame to get things sort of at least get the ball rolling. Now that I'm back and I've got a bit more time and I've got Daniel coming in next week, I think we'll definitely spend a lot of time asking the questions of what can we do better, if anything? Is there anything actually that we could add in or take out or change around? Is there anything missing from that program? So I've been spending a lot of time thinking about it. I'm probably not going to change it this side of Wollongong World Championships. I've just got the athletes into a bit of a routine, and it's been a big change for a lot of them already, coming from different coaches and different setups. So got them into a bit of a routine. We'll probably keep it that way until Wollongong, and then really start implementing any sort of structural or changes that need to happen, or any bits and pieces that I want to bring in and out. But it's really hard, isn't it, when what you've experienced works? It's really hard to think outside of that. And that's where it'll be interesting for Daniel to come in, because he will have a completely different experience to what we've had.
What, like, not having been in Joel's squad, what is this like structure that works? Like, what
simple. It's so simple. It's actually like boringly simple, but I think like Joel is really on, well, you talk, Non.
Yeah, like Katie said, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. It's high volume. You do the easy stuff easy. This is where Leeds and I think Joel differentiate a little bit. Joel's intensity is always quite controlled and quite measured, and he'd always say minimum effective dose, save your bullets for racing. Whereas Leeds was a little bit more polarized, so there was some more higher quality, higher intensity sessions. And I think probably Joel's program on reflection has a bit more longevity to it, because that really hard, fast stuff is what really hurts you and increases the injury risk. So I think probably doing majority of what Joel does, and then like sprinkling in some of the higher intensity stuff in at the correct time and periodized correctly would kind of be how I think works best. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, if one of Joel's athletes told me what run session they were doing this Saturday, I would be able to tell you what run session they're doing
or the swim sessions.
Okay.
Which I like spiced up the swim warm up for like our athletes, because instead of doing 800 warm up, they do 400 swim, 300 pull, and 100 kick. But I feel like there's also an ownership that all of Joel's athletes have had to take into their training, and it's not in the sense of like creating their training plan or anything like that, but like Joel isn't a helicopter coach. Okay. Like, he's gonna let you make mistakes, and he's also not going to feed into like when you have like heightened emotions. Like, he would just always stay very even. And so outside of his programming, the way he coached, I think, had a longevity to it, because I feel like athletes could stay very just like centered and like focused on themselves and not have to play into somebody else's emotions. Like, I felt like his stability was really crucial to our team.
Yeah, definitely. You knew what you were going to get from Joel, and he was consistent with it, and I think he was able to do that because he was only really taking on pretty senior and pretty experienced athletes. So whilst he's still going to probably make some wrong decisions or do things a bit incorrectly, you're pretty experienced, you're able to have more of a dialogue. But and maybe some of the centres like in Leeds, you've got a lot of young, inexperienced athletes coming in. So you need to find that balance of being that helicopter coach initially for some of them, and then sort of weaning them off that as they get older. And it's difficult to be one thing for somebody and something else for somebody else in those kind of environments, because it's such a huge. We had everything from people doing their first triathlon up to Olympic medalists at Leeds, and yes, we were kind of focused on certain areas. Each coach was focused on certain areas, but we covered all of it. I went to all the sessions from teaching pretty much beginner cyclists to corner, right up to trying to help Georgia Taylor Brown with her bike or run session. So it was a big spread, and you've got to be something different for all those people. Whereas I guess Joel had the luxury of only working with the very best in the world.
It sounds like not being an expert coach like this. It sounds like the sessions, like writing a session part is one part of it's like half of it, and then this whole other half of it that seems way more complicated, right? That you like can't study. Well, I suppose you could study it, but is all the other stuff, right? The mental stuff and the emotional stuff and the like taking people along with you part.
Well, and the skills component side of things too. I mean, Non's definitely experienced it at Leeds. I'm sure coaching athletes, and I'm experiencing it here with more developing athletes, is there's so much you can't see if you're not on the bike with an athlete, or like you're not riding with them, because they don't know what they're doing wrong. So they wouldn't be able to like communicate it, and you can't always see it from the sidelines. So like I haven't been training with the athletes mainly because I was pregnant and now like baby, but Tommy like has been, and I'm like, wow, how much we would miss if there wasn't somebody
right
actually like doing the sessions with them, which I always appreciated as like a more mature athlete. Like I never wanted Joel to train with me because we had training partners to do that and to learn from. But on the development side, I feel like it's really important to have that like insight.
Yeah, I think as well, it's a really good way. So, I mean, I can't do sessions with the guys that I coach, just even if I was, still an elite athlete, that would be challenging for me. Nature, that's just how it is. But even just like warming up with them or doing easy rides with them, you also get to know them really well if you're able to do that and sort of get a better understanding of how they're feeling and how you need to adapt a session. But I agree with Katie, like being able to sort of immerse yourself into sessions and sometimes help them out or be there, especially with developing athletes, is really helpful. Like if I've got like a young 16-year-old that comes to join us sometimes, teaching her how to be closer to the wheel or telling her when to cut across, and you just pick up on things that you wouldn't see if you were just sort of stood at the end of the road waiting for them to come back. And it's one of the reasons why I've been really keen to make sure we have some senior athletes in the centre, even though it's sort of a under 25 focus. It's great that sort of my husband Aaron is in the centre because he's a really senior, experienced athlete that can help pass on sort of learnings to the athletes that I'm not always going to be able to see and not to police, that's probably the wrong word, but teach. And like even simple etiquette stuff that if they're not taught it, how do they ever know how to ride in a group? What's the correct etiquette for that? And it's better that he tells them off for being late than me. So
you guys both have your husbands like working in a capacity with you. How does that work? Is it like ever
sometimes better than others?
Yeah.
Has its pros and cons, definitely. I think it's really helpful for me to, like I say, have that extra pair of eyes and that extra help, and I can bounce ideas off him for sessions. But yeah, it just means you don't really get much time apart from each other. So you're with each other 24/7. But we're used to that because we were both athletes in the same squad for many, many years, and it's just kind of the life we know.
All the same, but also I find it very hard to shut off. Like when you like you're like your pillow talk sometimes revolves around like athletes, which I don't necessarily think is a very good thing, but it is what it is.
As long as you guys talk about other things, probably sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah. That's the challenge, is making sure you switch off from it. And it's a really hard thing to do because triathlon is an all-encompassing sport. It's a lifestyle sport. And when he's an athlete, or in Katie's case, a coach, and you're a coach, it's just, it is hard to switch off from it, and you need to find ways to do that.
What made you, obviously a lot of people, a lot of athletes, as they're like finishing up, they're like thinking about what they want to do. And some of them I feel like just become coaches because they don't like, that's the option. I feel like both of you though, like have really committed to like, I want to become a really good coach. I want to like learn what I don't know. What made you decide that that was the direction you wanted to go, as opposed to becoming a realtor or whatever?
Go on, you go, Katie.
Mine, actually, I never thought I wanted to be a coach, but then I was very thankful to have Joel as a coach, and I realized that there's I felt like there weren't very many options in the US.
Right.
And I felt like no one was really doing it, but not at like, I was so lucky with my experience coming from the collegiate recruitment program. Like, I got recruited into triathlon. I was heavily supported. We went into a daily training environment, and I'm like so passionate about the daily training environment being key to success. And a couple years after our year, they like got rid of it. I'm like, but wait, like it should exist. And that's kind of why like OXO started, was to bring that back a little bit, like back to the women's like collegiate recruitment program, which had been successful. But then I went to Leeds and then changed everything. And now I continue. We're evolving like not by the day, but it's, yeah.
Yeah, you and I have talked before about how there aren't that many like elite, like draft legal elite daily training environments in the US, but there's like a few more now. There's like a handful.
Yeah, there are. And like, and especially there's a few more that are like USA triathlon coaches, like with Parker Spencer and Ryan Bolton. And then with oh my gosh, Andy Potts.
Oh, Andy Potts, yeah.
And then yeah, Sean Jefferson. So yeah, there are, but I feel like not all, like they're still very small. When you think, like Non was speaking of how big the US is, and it's like, okay, well, you have like 10 people in 5 different places, that's 50. Like that's the potential to hit 50 athletes or 50 triathletes. And granted, we have NCAA too, so like that obviously is a whole bigger pool. But it's just, when you look at Great Britain, and even like what Non was saying about when she went back to Austria, in the sense of just them not having a center, like a robust center for a while, or did they have one before?
They've had a few centres, but they, for whatever reason, a multitude of reasons, haven't worked or have stopped now. So yeah, just try and create. I don't know if there's been, I guess the longest standing one was probably down in Wollongong. It wasn't a centre though, it was more like a training squad. So it was predominantly Australian athletes, but Gwen trained there, some Canadian athletes trained there. So it's like part Australian, part international. So probably not your traditional performance centre. But that was probably their longest standing thing. I don't know what was going on before that, to be fair. So maybe there was something before that, but in recent years, there hasn't really been anything that's survived for whatever reason.
Yeah. But I'm with Non. I don't think I'm a lifer for coaching.
Oh, really?
But I'd like to create
did Non say that?
Well, she didn't say coaching, but she said she wanted to make sure that this center that she's heading exists and sustains after her. And I'm kind of similar. Like, I want to create something, but I'm not sure I want to be coach. Mainly just because you have to live the life of it, like the schedule of an athlete, which is like pretty nonstop. So, except it's like 10 athletes doing 5 different things at least. So, but how did you get into coaching, Non?
Similar in that I didn't ever think I would go into coaching. I always wanted to sort of leave triathlon and go into something sort of maybe more medical. I had this huge sort of battle when I was an athlete of like, what is my purpose and what am I doing for society at large and society in general? Like, it's a pretty selfish pursuit. And before I went to university, I was always wanted to study medicine. But then someone said, you can't be an elite sports person and do medicine. It's going to be really difficult. So I did sports science and sort of moved away from that medicine thing. So I always thought I'd go back and either study medicine or become a paramedic or something like that. But I then started thinking, I'm not sure I really want to go back to university and study for another 5 to 7 years. And this job came up with British Triathlon. I knew I was probably going to finish at the end of the year as an elite athlete. And this job came up as the assistant coach of the Leeds Triathlon Centre. And I thought, well, I'll apply for it and sort of see how it goes. And I got the job. So that was like April of 2022. And I was really fortunate that they held a position for me until October 2022 when I did my last race. I still had a couple of Super Tri races left off the back of it. So I worked and trained for a little bit, for maybe a month or two, and then sort of became fully immersed in coaching. And you just sort of, it was a brilliant transition for me in that my lifestyle didn't change loads. I was still working with the same people. It wasn't like I didn't go cold turkey, cut and dry, completely remove myself from triathlon. And I think that has just made it such a seamless and enjoyable transition for me. And now I reflect and think, do you know what? I've had such an amazing life and experience through triathlon. I've had so many brilliant opportunities that I want to be involved in the sport and I want to give back to the sport. I do a lot of sort of athlete committee and World Triathlon Committee work as well, because I'm really passionate about that side of the sport and making sure that athlete voice is represented and athletes are always kept at the center of the sport. And, politics and everything that sits around that isn't forgetting that athletes should be the center, because without the athletes, there is no sport. So yeah, I've just found that actually I am passionate about triathlon. I love it. And I love still being involved. And in terms of coaching, you just become really invested in the people that you're working with. And that's kind of what I realized about moving from the UK to Australia. Like yes, I'm proud and I'm very proud to be British and I'm very proud that I represented Great Britain. But what I found is that I'm invested in the people that I'm working with. And, just because I'm now working with a different federation, I'm still as invested in those athletes, because they're people and I get on with them as people, and we've got that relationship. So will I be a lifer? Still not sure. I think similar to Katie, I've sort of got this 7-year project in front of me, and we'll see how that goes and see what comes after that. But I always think you have these grand plans and things never go to plan. So just go with the flow and see where I end up in the long term.
Regular listeners of Feisty Podcasts will not be surprised to learn that for decades, running shoes have been researched, tested, and designed for men. Brands have relied on the shrink it and pink it approach to sell male shoes to female customers. But women's feet differ from men's in numerous ways. We have increased toe splay, higher arches, a more narrow heel, a lower ankle bone, upward angled toenails, and a rounded instep that is smaller in circumference. And because of all those differences, that is why we need HEDAs. HEDAs has unlocked the science behind women's biomechanics through dedicated research and creates running shoes specifically designed for women. So that means a lower heel collar to reduce rubbing on women's ankle bones, plate design to provide heel stability and to decelerate foot impact, rounded instep creating a snug fit through the middle to match the curvature of a woman's foot. Every feature is designed to give you more power and less problems. Breathability that lets your feet breathe easily mile after mile, plus fast-drying tech that doesn't allow sweat to slow you down, adaptive stretch that molds to your foot like it was made just for you. I personally have been running in HEDAs for over 2 years, and from the first time I tried them, I knew that there was something different. They really felt like they were made for me. The shoes are super light but provide good cushioning, and they really support my very high arches. I honestly didn't think I would notice the difference after running for so many years in male model shoes, but I really did. So, Try Heddas for yourself today. Go to heddas.com and use the code STAYFEISTY for 20% off. That is Stay Feisty for 20% off at heddas.com. The link will, as always, be in the show notes.
Hi, it's Kelly O'Mara.
And Sarah Gross, your other feisty friends.
And we host the newish feisty podcast, The Feist, covering everything in women's sports that you need and want to know every week.
And the things you didn't know you wanted to know.
In one feisty hour, it's the only women's sports podcast covering all your favorite sports: cycling, running, CrossFit, rugby, the Olympics, the things that other podcasts don't cover.
And giving you the stories behind the scenes, of course.
And why should these feisty listeners listen to The Feist, Sarah?
Well, okay, Kelly, you know how women's sports in the last couple years have reached this like inflection point?
So I hear, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're, most people are kind of aware that like women's sports are growing, especially on the side of basketball, soccer. And it's really hard. Like I really want to be able to keep up with that movement and what's happening and the things that are growing and the behind the scenes information and like the business side and how the revenue's growing in different leagues. But I don't want to have to watch a ton of sports every week. Not that I don't love watching women's sports. But there's just a lot of it now, right? So
there are a lot of sports.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our podcast is a way to like keep up on the movement of women's sports while you are able to still pick and choose the ones that you want to watch yourself. So that's why people should listen.
Because we watch them.
Because we
and
watch
tell
them
you
for you
about them.
Yes. And we're fun.
And about everything. And we're fun. And we're going to do all the research behind the scenes, tell you everything you need to know. Listen to The Feist every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcast. You can follow or subscribe to The Feist on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube.
Hey Feisties, Sarah Gross here. We are so excited to be back with you here on our new, shiny, feisty triathlon podcast. Thank you for listening. I am so glad you're here. I want to tell you about one of the Feisty team's favorite recovery products, Prevenex's Neurify Plus. I use the chocolate flavor myself every day to support my strength training. At Feisty, we only support brands that our team uses and products that deliver results we have seen for ourselves. Prevenex's Neurify Plus is one of the best tasting plant-based and vegan shakes I've tried, and trust me, I've tried a lot. It contains balanced protein, carbs, and fat with comprehensive, high-quality micronutrients to help fuel your health. It also contains probiotics and digestive enzymes, so it's super easy to digest and doesn't give you that bloaty, gassy kind of effect that other protein products can produce. Unlike most supplement brands, Prevenex tests everything with pharmaceutical-grade precision, and they also offer a 100% money-back guarantee. So try Neurify Plus or any Prevenex product today, and you get 15% off your first order with the code FEISTYTRY at Prevenex.com. That's FEISTYTRY for 15% off at Prevenex.com. The link will be, as always, in the show notes.
What made you decide? Oh, I guess this is quite a question for both of you, because I talked to Katie a bunch around when she was like, I might be done. I think I might be done with racing. When do you know that you're done? Like, what made you decide, like, okay, this is going to be my last year?
I think for me, it came at the end of 2021, and I had been like a bit on and off with how much I was enjoying training, but I'd still got up and got on with it and did it. And we were at the World Series in Abu Dhabi. It was pretty late on in 2021. And I think we had nine British athletes on the start line in Abu Dhabi, including Lucy Charles. So not your normal short course athlete, but she dabbled for a few years, which was really cool. And anyway, it was coming down to the last 400 meters, and me and Beth Potter was sprinting for, I don't know, something like 7th and 8th. And it was Sam Dickinson, who finished 3rd in Fraser, who was on the sidelines and was like, it comes down to who wants it more. And I just thought to myself, I don't really care. I don't care who finishes 7th or 8th out of me and Beth. And I think before that, I would have fought for every place and wanted to fight for every place. And especially if you're sprinting with a fellow Brit, you know, you want you want to beat them. And I think that was that realization that like maybe I haven't got the same fire in my belly anymore. And I wasn't as excited as the younger ones coming through about going to a World Series race. They were like, oh, I've got my first World Series. I'm so excited. And you're a bit like, well, I've been to this one 10 times already and kind of lost its shine. So I think that realization that it didn't mean as much to me as it used to was kind of what made me think it's probably time for you to move on.
Did you always want to beat your friends though? Like, isn't there? I don't know. I mean, I guess this is why you guys are world champions. But did you always want to beat your fellow Brits when you're like sprinting?
I think anybody. I was pretty competitive from a young child. I was pretty intense as a kid, which is I look back now and think if I saw a kid as intense as I was, I'd be a bit worried that they weren't, going to have longevity in the sport because they were going to burn out. But yeah, I think it was just in general always wanted to be the best. And I think there probably is something about, when you're racing your fellow countrymen that or countrywomen that you want to win. But because ultimately if those are the people that you're competing with for spots on teams as well. So there is probably that added dynamic when you're racing a Brit or an American.
It's true. It's always funny because everyone thinks like, oh, you're teammates, like you're American teammates.
Right.
And you're like, these are actually the ones I want to beat the most. But it's besides on the mixed team relay, but like when you're on a team, but it's because you're just going for like the spots.
But you do have friends on the circuit, right? Like you do have like good friends who might not be your like country. Would you like? Are you if you're sprinting with them then?
Same thing. Like, you want to beat them.
Okay.
This is actually, I'll show you this. This is from the Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
And it's me and Vicky at the finish line where she obviously outsprinted me for a medal. And it said friendship first always. And we always used to say, no matter what happens in the race, we're friends when we cross the line. And, no matter what, she outsprinted me. She played a better tactical game than me and beat me. And I could be angry at her for that. But actually, do you know what? We're friends first. And that's what we always used to say, that, yeah, we're racing as soon as we step on that start line. But all hard feelings are left on the race course, I guess.
And I always felt like the Brits, like particularly the Leeds women, it was always so impressive how much fun you would have literally up to the race start, compete against each other, cross the line, and then it was like the race never happened and we're just going like it was such a good vibe. And I liked it because in 2019 I kind of got to like, I feel like I immersed myself into it, where it was like that's how I felt when I was racing. But it's very like, it was a very fun thing to be a part of, because I think you guys just had that intensity within the race, but it was literally only within the race.
Yeah, we were really, really fortunate, and I don't think the dynamic is quite the same anymore. And I haven't seen any other countries that have quite got that same dynamic, but it was a really natural, organic thing that happened. We were all genuinely really good friends, and were able to almost use that to our advantage in the race, but also still be competitors. So we did talk a lot about, and that was sort of, I guess, guided by the head coach, Ben Bright at the time, but talk a lot about how do we race together to maximize everybody's chances in the race. And I think we just got quite good at that, and knew that we were all kind of in it together, and we would look out for each other in races. We wouldn't necessarily let the other one win. But although there was hand holding, obviously, in the Tokyo test event.
right.
Very close.
Yeah, I think we were just really lucky and managed to strike that balance really well as a cohort of female athletes moving through.
Do you, can I ask a coaching question? Because something I feel like I witness with women's squads is that it seems harder to have a cohesive women's squad for a long time than for a men's squad. Like, you've experienced it with Leeds of having a like really cohesive women's squad for like, it spanned like a long time. I mean, you guys are still friends, and like, but you said it was lucky, but like now as you're coaching, what do you pull from that, or like how do you try to like use that with your teams that you're now coaching?
That's a really good question, and something I've thought about a lot. I think sometimes you have to be clever as the coach in almost like manipulating the sessions and the environments so that the girls don't feel like they're racing each other. And it does help when there's a clear leader. So if you've got an athlete that is probably that much better than everybody, I feel like they take the lead and then everybody else is quite happy following. The problems often arise when that pecking order is changed a lot. So a great example is probably me and Vicky, actually. So when Vicky first came to Leeds, I was probably more of in the leadership position, but over the years, Vicky sort of that dynamic changed a little bit and we became equal, and often she'd beat me and vice versa. And Malcolm Brown at the time was really clever at being like, actually, Vicky, I think this session will work better for you today. And this session will work better for Non. And they were just really careful and clever about managing that, because I think girls dwell on things a lot more. And if you're beaten in a session, you attach more emotion to it than guys, whereas guys seem to be able to move on from that a lot quicker. And that's a huge generalization and stereotype, but I think you just have to be a bit more mindful of how you're running the session with girls.
I mean, to be fair, we did that actually too with Joel. Like I remember on the track, because like Non's the speediest, like, I don't know, what do you run a 400 in? Like a 60? Like it was like my legs could never do that. And he would just like have us do different sessions on the ones where it just like
right.
didn't really make sense for us to be together. But it wasn't, I don't know, I never felt like it was a competitive. It was just like, well, that's Non's thing. And I remember one in particular, like you were with Mario Mola's brother, you like Lucas, and I was running with Tommy, just like on the same track, but just a little different. So
yeah, I remember that session in Mallorca, and that was the beauty of having Tommy, actually, because Tommy could be, you know, by the time I was there, I don't think Tommy was really racing properly, you know, in his own right. He was very much there as a training partner, you know, and obviously predominantly Katie's training partner, but it allowed Joel that flexibility that there was always someone that Katie could train with if he wanted to do something slightly different with her. And he managed that really well. But I think during my time there, Katie was probably the natural leader, because you were the one that was probably generally doing better. And so that kind of pecking order was there in many ways, if you reflect back and look at it. And yeah, maybe I had the upper hand on a few track sessions, but you definitely dealt me some hard blows on the bike.
All right.
Six,
call it even.
Call it even.
In Mallorca. I remember that being a hell session.
All right, I feel like we should end with, since you guys, you know, you have such a long, I want to hear one story that you guys both like look back on from your training days, from all of your trips. Like, what's the Non and Katie story?
Honestly, the one that, well, two come to mind. Non got me a cookie cake in Leeds because it was my birthday that weekend. But I think like you're thoughtful, like literally I think of like the thoughtfulness, not of like the racing, not of the training. It's like she was the one I celebrated like my last race. Well, yeah, like Toulouse, my last race. I was like there alone. We had wanted Tommy and Kimball to come. It didn't end up working. And Non brings like champagne chocolates to the room to celebrate my last race. And like actually I don't know if I ever felt as emotional as I feel right now talking about it. But like, and then we just stayed and like talked the whole night about like basically everything that we've experienced, and then like going forward what was next. And yeah, I think that was like, that's the coolest part, is that we were teammates, we competed against each other. Now like there's a lot of parallels in what we're doing next, or now. And so, and then like going to Leeds, and like it's not like we talk all the time, but it's so easy to fall back into a rhythm.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think Katie was always a huge inspiration for me. I loved the way that she knew herself and knew when to to back down or when to push. And I always sort of looked up to Katie in that regard. But like Katie said, one of my favorite memories is that time in Toulouse where actually we just sat down together in Katie's room for hours.
It was so long.
And just chatted and reflected. And it's so hard when you're in the moment as athletes to appreciate and to reflect on everything. But we were then both at a point in our careers where we could look back and be like, wow, how cool were those last 10, 15 years? And how cool was it that we got to experience that together? And triathlon has brought us that friendship. So yeah, as soon as you said that, I thought definitely Toulouse, something simple, just sat in somebody's room, catching up and reflecting on, now that we're both retired, I think we can both look back and say, yeah, we're proud of our careers and look back on two brilliant careers.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad you were able to join us and we were able to figure this out. Thank you for coming, Non, and having this whole coaching chat with us.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed it. It's been great to catch up and reflect and I guess also get excited about all the athletes that are still out there putting it on the line every weekend.
Yeah. So much more still to do.
So much more to do.